Hey, what's up, everybody? This is the second part of the Saved by the Bell, the Brian Holiday review with Zach Monson. In the second one, we're going to be talking about how we liked the reboot of, sequel?
Reboot. Reboot is the correct word. If they're in it, the original cast is still part of it. It's a reboot, bro.
Was the new class considered a reboot then?
I mean, no.
Bell,
it's like, yeah. Well, then yes. Well, then fucking yes. Yes,
this
it's
is
a reboot.
For
But I mean,
me,
like, then it's like it's the college years, and they're all there. Look, I think the term reboot, you've got to have like the distance and time has to be right, or it's just a different variation of the show. You know, it's like until you've missed it, it can't be a reboot. You have to you have to miss the original for it to be a reboot, or you're just doing different seasons. That's like
okay. That's funny. That's fair.
Like Power Rangers, right? How many different Power Rangers? It's not. They're not reboots of each other. Even if sometimes there's a little bit of a, like.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. If anything, I wanted to say that Saved by the Bell, this version, the 2020 version, is, and until I looked at how many different versions of the show they had done, I never thought of it. But Saved by the Bell feels like one of the original universes.
Yeah.
The same way that we have, I know Law and Order, Law and Order and all that stuff on the procedural side, like the Dick Wolf universe existed where everything crosses over. But Saved by the Bell is another one of those crossover universes because you have, like we said, Good Morning Miss Bliss, Saved by the Bell, the college years,
the new class,
and then you have now this Saved by the Bell, and there's all
those and the mini movies all the way in between. Yeah.
And that to me is a better universe build than a lot of the stuff. Hey, when you realize that Saved by the Bell has a better universe build than the DC extended universe with Superman and stuff, that's a problem. That is a problem. Like, it should not be better than Superman versus Batman, but it is.
Sure. It is. It's so much better. Yeah.
And I will stand by that statement.
I liked Superman versus Batman. Okay, I liked it, but still better.
Yeah.
Still better.
But so I'm gonna show. This is hold on. I'm trying to find
even this opening thing. Even like hitting that exact maroon. That's the correct color maroon for the outfits. It just feels good to see that stairwell, those lockers. It feels good.
And that was one of the things, I'm going to play this in the background while we're talking, but that was one of the things that I found interesting, that they decided to film it in two different ways. So you can tell when they're doing the nostalgia shots of like the Saved by the Bell throwback. It's like, for example, in the later episode where Kelly, Zach, Jesse, and AC Slater are all together in Belding's office opening the time capsule, I think.
Yeah.
They throw it back to the old-fashioned color scheme and like style of filming. I guess I'm trying to think of
it's like a one camera shot versus the multi-shot, right? Isn't it? Isn't that the whole deal? It's like you can like see the difference. Like when it's that old, it's like there's like one shot in the hallway. It's like there's like one shot in the office. Whereas like this is like multi-cam moving all over the place.
And that's it. Yeah, that is it. It's single cam versus multicam. You're right. That is the major difference with how they shot it and how it was set up and how like the whole energy of the shots. And also like you can tell that they also like rearranged the lighting and they like I'll put it back up on the screen real quick, but this is more in the real world, like the tone. Whereas this that we just saw with the principal is very much
I love it.
Which was funny because I got concerned that this was going to be how the whole thing was going to look, and I was like, I don't know if this is what I want.
Oh, dude, I gotta tell you, right off the bat, so happy with it. And my expectations were low as can be, because that's just the place where you got to put yourself when you fair. Because I enjoyed the original so much, I was like, this is gonna suck. I'm just gonna watch it, and then if I find one joke and I like, then that's a bonus. And every single episode I loved from the first moment I started watching. Obviously, mine's the theme song, but everything is perfect. And it's great. It's marvelously done.
Do we want to talk about the theme song real quick?
Yes.
You told me who made it, and I didn't know who that made it originally.
So I just found out that it's Lil Yachty.
Okay,
and that's fine. If you guys want to use a name to redo
Yeah.
the theme song, go for it. But that theme is a piece of shit. It's an
Yeah.
absolute piece of garbage. I'm
Yeah.
glad they redid the original song. That it was important to me that it remained that song. But in my head, it's like keep the original. I would have just kept the original as it was because it was so perfect. I don't think you need to 2020 it up. But just you didn't need to do that. Or if you did, do it in a way that doesn't sound like fucking like Titus, whatever his name is singing the song. You know, it's just like it sounds like a joke. And
Yeah.
as much of a joke as the new season actually is, it was too much of it. It was too much of a joke. It wasn't a joke with like a message. It was just bad. It was just bad.
And like I definitely understand what you're saying because it's especially like Fuller House, for example, got Carly Rae Jepsen to redo the original song, and it sounded it was like poppy, and it was an updated pop version of it, but it
wasn't so far off.
Yeah. Whereas this one, they were trying to go too modern with it, and that didn't hit.
And what's funny to me about the lyrics, right? Like all the production aside is garbage, but they changed the lyrics just slightly. So in the original, they say, you know, make it to the corner just in time to see the bus fly by.
Yeah.
But in this one, they go, make it to the corner just in time to get the bus.
Oh.
They don't say that they missed the bus.
Why?
Because they had to take the bus for like 2 hours to get to school, right? Because we're in the new season, they're going so far from like those like you know lesser rich areas to the rich areas. The bus ride was so long. If these guys missed the bus, they're not in the show if they missed the bus. You know what I mean? So they took that part right out of the song altogether, which I just found funny.
Okay, I mean that's deep. I like that they thought of that. I'm just gonna play in the background here. Kind of bong.
Yes,
The time out was just. I gotta say, when I saw the Daisy character, Daisy Jimenez, who's played by Haskri Velasquez, when she did the timeout the first time, I almost jumped out of the seat because I was so excited at the idea that that Zach power had been transferred to someone.
Yes.
Like kind of like the joke of, you know, like Zach, the whole time you're watching the show, Zach gets that there's an audience, but it's also like that Deadpool thing of like, maybe there's not an audience. Maybe he just has a power. And
he's crazy.
Yeah. That's the other thing. Or he's crazy. That's more the thing. Because in the comic book, Deadpool, the kind of side thing is that Deadpool is hyper aware, which is this term they use to explain characters that know that they're just in a comic. But but in the MCU itself, in the Earth 616 itself, Deadpool is perceived as insane because he just keeps talking randomly to no one.
See, that's how I always thought of Deadpool. I always thought of him as crazy and hallucinating us.
Yeah.
Even if we were real. I felt like he was hallucinating us. We were just reading him. That's why I was stopping.
Well, no, that's fine. I think that's the thing. We're supposed to get that, but there's also this theory of hyper reality where like Deadpool, Gwenpool, who's that spinoff of him, and the Joker are like these characters are characters who know that they don't they're fictional characters, so there's no repercussions for any of their actions, so they can do whatever they want. Whereas, the way they use it in Saved by the Bell, though, I really like is because it's not that they're addressing the fact that no, I know for a fact this is a show, but at the same time, you're watching what you think is just a television show, when in actuality, it's the reality I live in, and you're getting a glimpse. And I like that's how they do it, and especially this season, the way she does it is so well because like Zach would do it to like turn to you and kind of give you a sense of like, hey, look at this scheme I'm getting away with.
Yeah, she does it like message.
And like this Mac Morris idiot is like not getting that this is not a cool situation.
Yeah, like Mac Morris.
Yeah, Mac.
Look, for me, here's the thing, and again, I could be wrong about this, but when they were originally putting the show together, the original cast, I think, was very minimal. I think it was like Jesse maybe, and then AC a little bit, like Zach was not in it, because at the time they were originally supposed to be filming, Mark Paul Gosselaar was filming a show on ABC. He was like a lawyer or a cop or something on some like ABC show, right? So contractually, he wasn't allowed to do anything for NBC. And I think some shit happened to that show. I don't follow that show at all.
It got
But whatever, right. So he was opened to do it. So they were like, well, fuck. If Zach Morris can be in it and we're talking about his son, let's do the whole thing. So they were able to bring it all together. And for me, they could have fucked this up so badly. You know, it really could have been a really bad show. And just using the name, you know, Saved by the Bell, and just it would have been a totally different show. But all the things that Dashiell Driscoll was able to look back on the original and make fun of, by bringing him on after he had done Zach Morris's trash as a writer, they were able to make fun of all those things that he said were stupid in the first series. And they were able to say, okay, we know this was dumb, but now we're going to talk about it and pretend like it's a silly thing. And they were able to just bring everything together so perfectly. Like Zach Morris and his gang of buddies performing as Zack Attack. When that Zack Attack thing actually only happened in a dream sequence in Zach's mind, and like the fact that they perform and they get all ready and they perform the whole song, and then the guy's like, "What the hell was that?" And then Zach Morris goes like, "Oh right, that was the dream." But it's just like the fact that you can do that and go back to it is that's gold.
And like again, that's very much one of those weird meta deep things where we know the existence of this thing because as fans watching the show got to see it, but in the real world, this makes absolutely no sense to anybody. Even like the funny part is thinking, and this is obviously overthinking, but the fact that like Jesse, Kelly, and AC were probably just like, why are we doing this again? Because they never actually did it. Is like those little elements make the show so much more fun to watch because it's so ridiculous when you watch it.
I really think that it's great. I've watched it twice. And I really genuinely love it. I love it.
What were your thoughts on the other kids though? The whole for those who haven't watched the show, I'll give you a quick rundown. You had already mentioned it. It's essentially that Zach becomes the governor, right? He's the governor of
he's the governor of California,
governor of California, and really makes a mess of things and ends up shutting down a whole bunch of schools. And the kids
in very poor areas.
Underfunded, lower tax bracket schools. And someone suggests that like, oh, why don't you just send the kids to the richer schools? And he's just like, yeah, that's what we'll do. And he does it, which is a very Zach thing to do of like, I'm not going to think about this too much. I'm just going to do it because it's what people seem to want and I still want to be loved. So he does it. And so ensues the insanity of our three main new cast members, who I would say are Daisy Jimenez, played by Haskuri. I always mess up her name. Haskuri Velasquez, Aisha Garcia, played by Alicia Pascual Pene, and Devontae Young, played by Dexter Darden. Those three end up becoming the new, I guess in a way, they're kind of like the new leads of the Saved by the Bell crew.
See, for me, it's like they've created this, as the show starts, they've created two worlds of main characters. It's like you've got the clear, here's the Bayside main characters, and here's the new kids main characters. And as the show goes on, they kind of just like do this, and they become one group of main characters, which is like super dig.
I really do love that because you have Mac on the Bayside. Like that's the thing. I think it's funny too because the Bayside kids are so clueless to how the world really works.
Yeah, but I think again that is so on purpose. That is a very purposeful thing, and it's so accurate and makes so much fucking sense because it's so real and so sad.
Yeah, like that's a commentary on like being privileged separates you from so much that you don't realize things, and it makes the stories like, for example, when you realize that and I'll look up the character's name, Josie plays
Tota?
Josie Tota. Why am I drawing? Oh, I was looking in the wrong column. Josie Tota plays Lexi Haddad
Yeah.
Fabri,
The transgender best friend of Mac Morris.
Yeah, and I love that. I love that she's playing this role and is so like she's such a like little conniving boss bitch as a
Yeah.
character.
Yes.
And it's interesting because it's not we didn't have that character on the original Saved by the Bell. There was never, but her and Mac, Lexi and Mac have this great relationship of being almost like
twins. They're almost twins.
Dude,
they're almost twins.
When the show started, I thought they were meant to be twins.
Yeah.
I thought that was the commentary that Zach had twins.
Yeah, no.
It's Lexi and Mac, and that's why they act the way they act. Like they're always planning and conniving, because Josie does an amazing job as Lexi. She's hilarious as a character.
Yeah, so good.
And when you realize that she is like kind of the fact that her name is Hadid is already a commentary on what kind of person she's supposed to be. But then it just makes the relationship and the fact that she's into Jamie Spano, who's Jesse's son, who is the most simple-minded, sweet character.
Yeah.
And it's again like
his moves.
Yeah. But it goes back to what you were saying before, where it's like Kelly and Zach, Jesse and AC, Screech and Lisa.
Yeah, man.
This Lexi and Jamie were kind of like that perfect thing. But like you were saying, there's that crossover because you see that Aisha, another character, ends up being a love interest for Jamie.
Yeah.
And it's
beautiful, that girl.
Oh my God. Yeah, she's gorgeous.
Oh my God, she is so pretty. Yeah.
And it's that crossover of the groups and the interactions that make it interesting. And Lexi, when when Jamie and Mac both fall for the same girl, and it turns into a classic Saved by the Bell type episode, and Daisy's just like, man. Like the fact that Daisy,
like they're about to get it.
And then they would never get it. And Daisy's just like, why are we not telling them? And Lexi's just like, don't you understand? You have to let things play out a certain way. And I was just like,
those things to me are brilliant, because it's like you're just pointing out the things that were so stupid.
Oh my God!
And now you're doing them again. And your characters are saying how stupid it is. And to me, that's so special, because we all said it, and now they're saying it on the show to the characters we wanted to say it to. And it's like, we get to say it. You know, it's like we get to tell Zach Morris what you're doing is dumb, even if it's this person's saying it to his son.
Yeah.
Going back to Josie as Lexi, like, I think that it's like, it seems very like 2020 to like insert a transgender character into a show, you know, where it was like a gay character 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think this was done so well. I think it was done so easily. There was never a point where I rolled my eyes at them feeling like they threw that in there. I thought it was so incredibly well done in terms of the plot and the character themselves and the relationship. And I thought it was great. Really, really, really well done.
And one of the things I loved about it the most was the fact that the realness of the character, when they do the storyline with Devontae not really wanting to be open about being in the school play.
Yeah, right.
And then Lexi talks about, well, when I was transitioning, and they show scenes from Lexi's reality TV show, which is something that you keep hearing about in the background, which again is another hilarious aspect of the show, that this Bayside kid is so wealthy and so popular that they had a reality TV show about their transition. But it's actually,
which was a real show, yeah,
it's a real show, and it's what helped Devontae, because when Devontae and his friends are at the friend's house talking about it, it actually helped Devontae process, like, I actually do want to perform, and you being open and raw and vulnerable is the word I'm looking for. You being vulnerable made me feel like I could
be vulnerable.
And it's kind of crazy that it's not crazy, but it's great to use that the transition and the story behind Lexi to help other students in that world.
And just the mix of the like the privileged white characters and the black characters and the Latino characters and the transgender characters, and like everyone was just like working it out as like friends, and it was never like
Yeah.
this character's got to be doing black things and that transgender's got to act a certain way, and it was just like it felt very real, like a real life group of humans, and it just, I appreciated that so much, because they could have gone over the top. They did go over the top. They could have gone over the top in a bad way, and I think they just
Yeah.
nailed it right in that perfect zone of silly and serious.
I think one of the things that makes me really happy is that Dan Levy on Schitt's Creek talked about the fact that, because some people ask, like, when you were writing Schitt's Creek, were you ever concerned about writing a story from the perspective of a gay character? Or it was David Tennant when he was on David Tennant's podcast. And he asked him about, like, being writing this universe where being gay is just accepted. And Dan was just like, that was the whole point. I wanted to just write a story and tell a story where, for once there's no questions about it. It's just, this is the world we live in and this is what it is. And it's not something that we have to address. Just accept that there is a world where everyone's just okay with a gay couple in a relationship. And I think I like that Schitt's Creek did it. And I like that Saved by the Bell did it in a certain way. They still addressed the fact that Josie is transgendered, but it's such a like natural part of the story.
Exactly.
And there's no hatred or people being disrespectful. It just is what it is. And
there's no episode that has to do with her dealing with her transgender battle with her own self. It's not about her having to prove herself as a transgender character. She was just a character who happened to be transgender. And that I think was important. In the same way that Dan did it in Schitt's Creek, it wasn't a gay couple trying to prove to straight people that their love was supposed to be. It was just that they were gay and in love, and that was the story. And I think they did the same thing in Saved by the Bell.
And we're going to see more and more of that. Like, that's one of the things that I think I know on Geektastic Stuff, my other podcast, me and the guys always talk about the fact that they keep telling us, they keep doing these news reports every time a LGBTQ actor gets cast in something. And one of the guys on the show was asking me, like, why do they always do that? And I was just like, well, because we're still at a point where representation needs to be made visible so that people in the world become more accepting. And I think that I like that the shows are starting to do it in such a natural way. This is the world. These people exist.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. People exist. It's like, period. People exist, period. That's it.
And I like that storytelling becomes the norm. I want that storytelling to become the norm. And the show, although the show itself is a commentary on, like, not the wrong side of the tracks, but kids coming from the other side of the tracks,
a less fortunate side of the tracks.
Yeah, especially this particular episode that I have playing in the background, where Devontae is accused of assaulting someone, and it becomes a whole thing of like, okay, well, Devontae, you can't be in the school. Like, oh no, not accused of assaulting. Is this the one where he's accused of stealing
iPads or laptops or something? iPads?
I don't think
it was a bunch of iPads, because he had done the same thing in his last school, I believe.
Yeah. Which
iPads,
one? Like, actually, no, that's it. It's not. No, it was. He's accused of actually assaulting the kid who did the
right,
review.
that kid who faked it. Right. The
That's
review of the play. Correct. You are correct.
Yeah. So even that story, as a story, myself being a black kid who actually went through something similar to this when I was in high school, someone was annoying me. This kid in 8th grade who kept, like, I was in the 11th grade, and this kid just constantly kept bugging me all the time because he was just a weird kid.
Yeah.
And one day I like turned to him and just like went like this and said, and like against the wall, and said, "Leave me alone or I'll kick your ass." And then I walked away. And he went to the office and had like marks all over his neck, and his shirt was all ruffled. And I was just like, and I got called into the office, and I was just like, yeah. And they're just like, well, this kid says that you assaulted him. And I was just like, what are you talking about?
No, I didn't. Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't do anything. And they're just like, look at his neck. And I'm like, okay, I guess if he wants to sell a story, he did some weird stuff to himself, but I'm telling you, I did not touch him in that way. I did tell him to leave me alone, and I pushed him away, but I did not choke him. I didn't lift him off the ground by his shirt like he's saying.
Right.
Like and the fact that I went through that and then saw Devontae as a character go through that, and the show handles it in such an interesting way because it's, again, in their story, it's even deeper because he's now the kid from the other side, or the less fortunate community that is in this school because someone on high made a decision and he has to be at this school. But now he might not even be able to go to this school because someone of privilege is trying to set him up. Yeah. And it was similar to my situation because I was going to school in a more affluent neighborhood, but that's because it was the only English school within X amount of miles, and I was going to an English high school. But the kid that did try and screw with me was a kid from a more affluent neighborhood.
Yeah, right.
And wasn't going to be affected by any of the things that was going to happen. But I could potentially have been affected if I got kicked out of that school, because especially here in Quebec, where as an Anglophone going to an English school, there are limited options. I would have had to have gone to, I probably would have, funny enough, would have had to go to Options. For anyone who's from Montreal, Option was the school that you went to when you pretty much got kicked out of your other schools. And that's where I probably possibly, and there's nothing wrong with that. I have a whole bunch of friends who went to Options and they do amazing stuff. It's just that at the time, it was such a like mark of death when you went to Options when I was a kid, because it was just like, oh, it's not going to look good on your application to CEGEP and so on and so forth.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I get that. The show is amazing. I mean, I just think they handle all kinds of different issues that I think a lot of people face every day in really, they just did it really well. I think they did it really well. They really balanced, here's the message we want to tell you. We're going to tell it really clearly so you're going to get it at the end of the episode and the end of the season. Yeah. But we're going to really poke fun of the fact that we know other shows have tried to do it in a really bad way before. And we're going to really try to do it a little bit better and make you laugh as much as we possibly can along the way. I laughed, man. I laughed out loud at the show. I really laughed.
And that's what I was going to say. Like the fact that in the same episode with Devontae and all this craziness going on, the fact that Mac turns himself into a payphone and doesn't know what a payphone is. Yeah. Like, he's literally taking quarters for people to make phone calls.
Now, the only thing about that episode that felt unrealistic to me, which seems like a silly thing to say, is he never, ever would have taken quarters. Ever. This rich motherfucker has never seen a quarter in his life. It would have been $20 a call, and you know it, and I know it. It would have been extortion, and you know what I mean? 25 cents. I'm pretty sure payphones now are 50 cents anyway. So,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, so but your point is correct. The fact that he was a payphone.
Yeah, but that's it, right? Like you said, you laugh at these episodes. Like they found that balance. They did a good job. Finding like, here's the serious story we can tell you, and at the same time there's going to be a really silly B plot or C plot, and that's okay. You're going to enjoy it because you don't have to take everything too seriously, but we will get through the story together. And I
love it. And I think it's funny, like we have to thank Jimmy Fallon, because Jimmy Fallon putting together that Saved by the Bell reunion on the Tonight Show years and years ago, like 4 or 5 years ago, is what inspired this whole process apparently to happen. Thank you, Jimmy, to that. In fact, he had the whole cast back on his show not long ago. They all sang the theme song together in a Brady Bunch style video, and it was magical. In fact, they should use that version as the theme song for the fucking reboot. You know.
Hey man, season 2. You're just tossing out ideas. Hit up Dashel on Twitter.
And I mean, season 2 for me, I don't see how it couldn't get picked up. I'd be surprised if it doesn't go to TV. It would be nice to see on NBC. I think it would be great to see it versus just Peacock. Because I think that I think putting it on Peacock was a great idea to test the waters. You didn't want that to fail, right? You didn't want that to go on TV and then it'd be a fail or be shitty or whatever. So I think putting it on Peacock was a great first test. But I think the next season should be on TV, personally. Do I want to wait for all the episodes? Definitely not. I don't know if that was the way it was. I watched it so far after it was all aired that I don't even know if it was one episode at a time.
No, from what I understand, it was like Netflix, the original. It was just all
Okay,
released
the whole thing. So yeah, so I would love to see a season 2. You know, they end season 1 with Matt Morris on the phone being like, "What's COVID?" So
Yeah.
the whole essence of what happens between the end of that and the next season, maybe in that world, COVID never really happened, and it was just a weird phone call, or COVID was a band they're going to see or something. But I'm interested to see how they do season 2 if it gets picked up. I very much would like to see it get picked up, and the only things that I think this season was missing for me
Yeah.
is Belding. I think,
Yeah.
you know, it's I
Yeah.
get why Screech isn't in the show.
Yeah.
Screech has really not been a kid friendly, family friendly, even
Yeah.
teen friendly personality over the few years. He did a few amateur pornos.
Yeah.
You know, went broke and tried to sell his house. He was arrested for stabbing a guy.
Good God.
He wrote that terrible book, which turned out to be mostly lies, but he wrote the book all about the kind of behind the scenes of Saved the Bell. So he didn't leave, you know, a good feeling in anybody's mind. So it doesn't surprise me that he's not in it. And they put him on a space station, so it was hard to reach him.
Yeah.
I know that personally, I think Dustin Diamond is really very hurt that he's not on the series. He's been very
Really?
vocal. He's been very vocal about saying, you know, other than Mark Paul Gosselaar, I've been in the most episodes of this show. It's like he was in the new class, right?
Yeah.
Like he was in episodes that Zach Morris wasn't even on. So
Yeah.
for Screech to not be a visual
And he
part of
was
the
on the
show,
Miss Bliss, like we said. So he's legit.
right? So
Yeah.
he's been on every version of the show that there has
God
been.
damn.
So it's a little weird, but again, it's like we live in a world where, like, if you're fucking up that badly, like, you're not going to get to do the things that you kind of want to do anymore.
Yeah, dude.
And
It's
you know,
about your
whether it's
brand.
right or not, but it is. It's, you know, he doesn't really deserve to be part of it. I think it's so special. I didn't miss Screech, to be honest.
Yeah.
And I thought if you were to tell me before I watched it that everyone's back but Screech, I would say, how could you possibly do it without Screech? But I don't think I missed anything crazy without him being there. I did miss Belding. There were moments where I wanted to see big fat Belding, but
I wouldn't. I guess for the Screech thing, I mean, 100%. I understand because it all comes down to branding, and if your stock is not doing well, they're not going to put you with everyone else. And Belding would have been great to see. There was a few times that I was actually kind of hoping to see Belding. Like there's once
it felt like he was coming a few times.
Yeah, like there was one time when they went to the other school and like the other principal stands up for himself. I almost was expecting like a Belding moment of like him interacting with him and teaching him, like, you know, it's more about the students than the school. Right. And
Belding should have been the principal at the other school that got closed.
Something. Yeah.
You know, like something. Yeah. Give me Belding, man. Season 2, if you don't bring in Dennis Haskins, that truly is a mistake. There's got to be I really think it's a mistake. Whatever the role is, I think that he needs to be in the show. Even if it's one episode, he needs to be
give him a cameo.
Yeah, man. Or even, you know, for me, it's like, I guess I'm so obsessed with the whole show in every entity that it has been in. I want to see things like, you know, what the hell's his name? He did the voice of Pumbaa in The Lion King. The guy who like owns the Hawaiian hotel that they all work at in the summer. What the hell? It's like Nathan Lane does Timon, and this guy does Pumbaa. He's a guy who does like
the original one.
Yeah, the original.
Oh, Pumbaa. Yeah. I know who the actor is. I don't know his name.
That guy. He is the guy who owns the hotel in Hawaii that they all go and work at for one summer. And so I would like to see him back. His daughter, Stacey Carosi, I would also like to see back. Zach's love interest in Hawaii. I would like to see her come back, maybe fight it out with Kelly Kapowski, make things a little awkward. You know, like I would like to see a little bit more of those old school characters coming back into the new season.
They did that on Girl Meets World.
Right, which like I loved Boy Meets World, but see, it's funny. I was actually thinking about Boy Meets World right before I sat down and talked to you, because going through that time frame, it's like Sabrina the Teenage Witch and Boy Meets World and Step by Step and Family Matters and like all of those kinds of shows. Like Boy Meets World, I tried to watch again, and that is a piece of shit. That show sucks.
Really? You didn't like?
I did not. I went back and tried to watch because I was like, hey, I have a 5-year-old, right? I was like, hey, let's watch Boy Meets World. Not good. So I didn't even try Girl Meets World because I was so pissed. And like talking about crushes, Topanga.
Yeah.
Ooh, Topanga. But again, we could do a whole podcast on just girls we had crushes on. That would be great. But
or
yeah,
have
so like Boy
even,
Meets
like,
World was not
90s
good.
series.
Yeah, exactly. But
Yeah.
you know, it's Saved by the Bell. I had low expectations, and I might watch it again, and I might watch the whole original back from the beginning again. I've seen the original about 5 times from start to finish. So like, I
I
love
feel like, because again, like I said, I was watching it on TBS, and it was just over and over and over. So for me, it really was.
I love it so much. I'm so thrilled that the new reboot is so good because
Yep.
I was ready to be heartbroken, and I felt like I just had like the best first date ever. Like
That's
you just
awesome.
called your ex and you got back together, and then the rest of your life is magic. You know, it's just like amazing, and I just love Saved by the Bell. I hope Saved by the Bell feels the same way about me, but I love the whole thing. I
That's
just
awesome.
really love the whole thing. I was super happy.
Well, I'm glad
Except
you
for
liked
the
it, man. That's why I reached out to you to talk about it.
love it.
I've told people they should definitely check it out. In Canada, if I'm not mistaken, it's playing on the W, because I've been at a friend, like I dropped off some stuff at a friend's house for over the holidays, and they had it playing in the background.
I
And
saw it. If you search Roku, it shows up to stream on something, but I don't. It wasn't W. It was something else as well, but it's out there. Like
Stack TV, maybe.
Yeah, SAC TV. That was it. It was
Stack TV is the one that has so if you guys are in Canada and you're looking for ways to watch it, check it out. There's Stack TV, there's the W if you have cable. It's out there.
Screw in the UK. Sorry, guys. Illegally watch it if you have to. I'm not going to promote that, but if you got to do it. It's worth it. Going to jail or being fined is worth watching the show. That good.
Yeah. I am not going to condone going to jail for a TV show, but I will tell you guys, if you like it, I should try and get sponsored by VPNs, because I feel like a VPN. VPNs really help the world. They really do.
You should be sponsored by a VPN. That's a good idea.
I've been watching shows on Stan, which is an Australian streaming service.
Nice.
And I love it. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Zach, thank you so much for being on the show with me and talking about Saved by the Bell.
Pleasure. Like literally, it's like, unless you want to talk about my daughter or like myself, Saved by the Bell is pretty much my favorite thing to talk about. So anytime you want to talk about it again, man, I'm here.
That's why I reached out. Guys, that's the whole show. Thank you so much for tuning in to another edition of the Brian Holiday Review. I'll be back with another episode soon. Don't go anywhere. Always check out everything I got. BrianHoliday.com. Oh, Zach, tell people your handle.
I have handles. I'm trying to work out, get rid of them, but they won't go away. I'm doing my best. It's those love handles. I'm just not going to get
social media handles, you dork.
Instagram is TheZM, TheEZM. Find me, and I host some shit too. So come on and enjoy the party. Come hang out.
There you go. Peace, everybody.
Peace out.